Howdy, this is Mackenzie Franklin from SideGame LLC here in Colorado Springs, Colorado. And today I'm joined by Corinn, the super blonde nerd, for what we've been playing. Corinn, how are you doing?
Hey, doing pretty good. Hey, nerds, what's up? So I am Corinn from the SuperBlondeNerd channel. Super excited to be here once again.
Fantastic. So today we are going to talk about 3 games each that we've been playing, things we want to share. We'll have some questions, some prompts for you watching live, as well as those who are watching after the fact. Make sure to answer our questions and share what you think about them in general. At the very end of the video, we'll talk about all of the different games we played, a big old list, and then rank some of the ones that we really enjoyed. Maybe a top 3, bottom 3, or just ones that we really appreciated that game experience for. So Corinn, without further ado, let's talk about some games we've been playing. What's the first game you've been playing?
So I was able to have this awesome board game weekend with some friends and introduced to a brand new game that I have heard only good things about, and it's super popular in the board gaming community, which is Too Many Bones.
So happy. I'm so happy you played this, and I'm so excited to hear your thoughts.
Yes. So Too Many Bones, as the best way I can describe it, is they even say it's like a dice building RPG. So you play as different characters. They are, I can't even think of what they're
They're
called.
gearlocks. The
Gearlocks. Yeah,
not
like
quite
it's
an
not,
elf, not quite a human, not quite a gnome. They're
yeah,
gearlocks.
a little combination of all the things. It's very cool. I played the character Tantrum, who actually is one of the more complicated ones to start out with, especially if you are brand new to this game. But he has really fun mechanics of. He's basically like the barbarian of the group, where his anger fuels his strength, and you can like unlock a bunch of stuff. But you have to be careful, because if your anger fizzles out, then you have to kind of start that whole. Well, you lose that anger building and the perks that come with it for that specific battle. But there were so many cool and fun things that we did. Yeah, I loved all of the different dice that you can unlock by, I think it's training points. And so there are just so many different avenues, and they have a great guide to help you start off with any character that you're playing with, and just being like, hey, you should go for this and really try to up this skill or get this dice to help you stay alive longer in the game or in the battle. Loved I thought that the battle dynamic itself was really cool. There's represented by poker chips on a mat, and you have your health HP by stacking the certain number of poker chips. And depending, you go through different situations. It's just like a bunch of different campaigns, but they're usually, I believe, played in like one sit down get together with people, because that's usually how it goes. So you usually have a certain amount of days to find the big bad. That's going and picking up cards that give you different situations, and each time that you finish that situation of card, that a day passes, and you only have a certain amount of days to find the big bad. But as you battle and you go through these situations, you get more training points to up your character's ability, as well as just learning the game as it goes. So I would say that the first iteration that we played, it was a little bit rough to start, just because we were playing it or starting to learn it at a really late time at night. So we were already very tired. We're like, oh man, there's a lot that's happening here. But it was super fun. This next day, when we went again because we lost. That's something that you can definitely do in this game, is lose. And just not be able to defeat the bad guy, or even, I don't even know if we got to like the main big bag, or it was just a really tough situation that we were dealing with. But the second day, we did defeat the big bad and all of the things that came with it. Yeah, there's so much to this game. I know I'm not going to be able to cover it all, but it's super fun. Definitely, if you are campaign lovers, as well as there's not ever, I would say, what do you call it? Like waiting time. Like
Downtime.
everyone's participating, making decisions together, even if you are not specifically it's not your turn to battle. You're
Mhm.
thinking about what you can do depending on how many enemies are left, and all those things, as well as the down period when you're not battling. You have loot or special types of loot, which I can't think of.
The
The
trove loot, the little
trove
lock
loot,
picking
yeah.
ones. Yeah.
Yeah, lock picking, super cool. There are special items that help you with the lock picking as well as just other items that will beef up your character or give you abilities to heal. Because there's like a healer, a basically a bomb maker, Tantrum, who's my barbarian, like super like hits everybody, and then a the tank, someone with a shield who can really take on the brunt of the hits, which is very cool. My husband played that guy. Yeah, it's a really cool game. He the all the different every character has a different way of battling and like taking care of themselves. Like my husband, he can't or he doesn't really deal damage, but his shield becomes the damage. And the higher his shield, the more like he can turn that around and kind of bash people with his shield. It's like really cool. We would definitely will be playing this again for sure and trying more different campaigns. But the two sessions that we did over the weekend was super fun.
Sounds amazing. It sounds like you had a really good experience, particularly your second time. What were some
Yeah.
things that were different that second time?
Well, just being able to it was quicker first.
Okay.
First off, I think the first time, like learning as we were doing it, it was about like a 3-hour playthrough. And then the second time, it was probably like 2.5 hours. So not like a crazy amount, but it was a lot more fun. And we were able to really strategize from the beginning, like what things we were going for, especially with like you get to choose what you are upgrading on, like your dexterity, which is the
Mhm.
amount of dice you can roll, and your attack and your defense and all that stuff. And I definitely chose, I think, still dexterity as one of my first upgrades, but I think also defense because I really didn't have any defense, and that really screwed me over as Tantrum because he has, I think, zero defense to start off with. I know that he has mechanics that will help him stay in the battle longer, but especially at the beginning, that really helped me keep in the battle because I definitely was knocked out in one of the battles of the first day, so that was kind of a bummer for me. So I couldn't participate in the battle. So in that case, I did have waiting time, but it's because we were learning. So we definitely chose different things to upgrade and just having that even one game foresight of being like, this is what we should maybe focus on and how are we going to win the battles.
Yeah, it totally makes sense. Upgrading your core stats is a pretty integral thing in this game. A lot of
Hmm.
players, when they initially start, they just want to get those skill dice immediately, but sometimes they won't have the dexterity to actually utilize those skill dice. They'll pick a skill die that necessarily won't be super impactful, where a
Yeah.
lot of them are more specialist. But I think that getting that core, that extra health bump defense is very important. I like
Yes.
playing the adventure mode, which gives all the players 2 starting health at the beginning of the game. That's super
Yes.
nice. I really
Yes.
enjoy that because it allows players to dive into those skill dice a little bit faster. But I think you nailed it on the head there. Getting some defense is probably good, especially when you have such a low health total at those beginning stages.
Yeah, I think that's what we did. I think is we did the adventure
Hmm.
kind of gameplay. So, but yeah, it was very helpful, and I definitely like even the picture of Tantrum's character sheet. I
Hmm.
went for those 3 green types because that was really like helpful and integral in a lot of ways to like um, lower the stats of our big bads.
Yeah, the survivability in general. I really like that armor line for Tantrum. Tantrum's
Yes.
actually Ariana's favorite character in Too Many
Oh
Bones.
yes.
We played that last week, actually. I got to play as
Sweet.
Boomer and she played Tantrum, and I had a
Awesome.
great time with it. I love Too Many Bones. It's one of my favorite games. I love the one-shot scenario how you sit down and you play. You get the entire experience of an RPG in a single setting, and you get to see your character progress. And I like how your team strategized from day one as to what paths you were going to go down to.
Yeah.
That's totally viable. This is a game I teach quite a bit, so I like being that resource bank of information and keywords. And I think that it does the other way to play it is you just start playing and explain things as you
Mhm.
go, and just say, yeah, follow your guide for this first first game, and I think that's a great way to do it. So you're
Yes.
not focusing on the entire sheet, but just that little box in that middle section. I
Yeah.
love that dynamic of this one.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely agree. Like, just I think a lot of people, if they want to get their toes into an RPG, this is a great one. Just like one shots in D&D, you
Mhm.
just get that flavor and that feel of playing, but you don't have to be like, okay, so we got to be next week to like finish it. Like, you always get a conclusion, whether or not you are defeating the big bad or not.
More and more, I'm loving games like this. I think it's the reason I prefer Marvel Champions over
Mm.
Arkham Horror, the card game. I'm really looking forward to playing Massive Darkness 2, if you've heard of that game. It's a dungeon
Mm-mm.
crawl where you go in, you fight a
Ooh.
big boss, but it's all in one scenario. I'm super excited to try that one out. It's the same sort of style of game as something like Cthulhu Death May Die, or like this, Too Many Bones. So very excited. It's definitely my preferred way to play, but getting that entire broad experience in one sitting. Can't recommend this one enough. I love Too Many Bones.
Yeah, you gave it a really high score.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite games ever. This is my favorite two-player game, period.
Oh,
I think that this
nice.
is one of the best games ever made. It is top notch. This is exactly the experience I'm looking for. And if I ever want to play a fantasy style game, it's going to be Too Many Bones.
True, true.
Yep, I
Yeah, I'm
love this
excited
one.
for it to dive into the expansion because I know there's at least one expansion.
There are several. They just
Okay.
had a game found with their final expansion, the final
Mhm.
big expansion with like a
Okay.
bunch of extra baddies and stuff, kind of a core set, another core set. But I think that the second big expansion, it's called Undertow. That's one of my favorite
Yes.
expansions ever for a game.
Yeah.
It's the two characters that come in it are some of my favorites. Oh, it's so good. I
This is
strongly
super
recommend it. Try
exciting.
the Bard. She is amazing. One of my
Yes.
favorite characters ever. So much
Yes.
fun.
I love that they're implementing all the different types of like the
Mhm.
archetypes of like D&D, like a bard and whatever the other character is. Like it's super fun and get to gameplay a lot of that, just like a root or something.
They just did a like a 24-hour or 48-hour sale for a gambler character, which is the coolest. So
Ooh.
in addition to dice, they also have a whole deck of cards that they're using to trigger their abilities. Oh my
Mm,
gosh. It was like
that
this
would make
big
sense.
reward for completing the escape rooms. Because if you're not aware, the Too Many Bones game has like puzzles and stuff inside of it in
Mhm.
the rule book. So you can really dig into it. And as a reward, you can get access to this secret character. Very cool.
That's super cool.
Any other final thoughts on Too Many Bones before we move on?
No, I mean, I'm very excited to play it again to just like really get well versed in it, like
Mhm.
you were saying.
I'm so excited for you, and I hope you have a great time with this game. I really
Yes.
do. Have
Thank
a
you.
blast. Oh, so
Thank
cool,
you.
Corinn. Excellent. So this brings me to my first game that I'm going to talk about. This is one that I was pretty excited for actually, because the idea of it is so cool to me. Taking a gigantic 4X game and shrinking it down into a roll and write, but in implementing simultaneous play. This is Twilight Inscription. We're just going to hit those two that we put on
Oh,
the thumbnail today.
yes.
This is Twilight Inscription. So Twilight Inscription is a roll and write game set in the Twilight Imperium universe. And as you can see, I've rated it pretty highly here. It's an 8 currently, and I don't see myself stopping playing it. It's going to be pretty high on that top solo board game list at the end of the year, I'm sure. This is a roll and write game where the key hook is you are going to play a 4X experience in basically an hour and a half or 2 hours. So let me pull up the back of the rule book for you here, or sorry, the back of the box here. And the core mechanism of this game is
Wow.
selecting boards to activate. And this is one of my favorite things about this game. There will be a card that is revealed, and that card will show you some resources that you get to use. Every player simultaneously will pick one of their 4 boards to activate, and then you'll use those resources on that board. After that happens, you're committed to that board. We'll roll some central dice and you'll use those dice on the board that you've chosen. So it's a bit of risky maneuvers. You have guaranteed resources and then random resources, and you'll have to allocate them to the one that you committed to. During the next round, you'll reveal a new card, and then you can change boards or stay on the same one. I really like this dynamic because a lot of the rewards that you're going to get from playing on the different boards are upgrades and enhancements. But if you commit to just a single board, you're probably not going to win the game. So it's up to you to decide when the switching points are going to be. When are you going to move on to this other board? When are you going to use the navigation board to find planets and then go to the exploration or development board and actually make use of the planets you found? There's so many great choices here, and that pivotal moment of deciding when to switch is huge for me. The other thing that this game does really well is the use of different factions. In the original Twilight Imperium game, you have a variety of factions with lots of different abilities, and that carries the same here. You're going to get 3 different choices, and then based on the character you pick, it's going to give you some passive ability as well as a faction bonus. Some of the rewards on the sheets are the special icon that triggers your faction's specific special ability. And I love this choice because it is an ability that is affecting all of the different sheets that you have in front of you. It reminds me a
Mm.
lot of Dune Imperium with the sigil ring, where your card in your deck is the same, but the effect is going to be different for each player. I love that. And the fact that these boards are asymmetric means that the combination of the characters can be different from turn 1. You may decide to really lean into your faction ability or focus on the abilities of your specific sheet. It is brilliant. So I really love that board activation paired with powers, and this is just such a fun experience. It has a bunch of great themes. The production is wonderful. They use these chalk orange markers that are very
Mm.
easy to just dry erase off with just a dry paper towel. I love this. I think this game is really good. It's not Twilight Imperium, but it has a Twilight Imperium theme, and I
Right.
think that theme is done really well in a roll and write sense. So I'm a big fan of this one. And my question for this has to do with this re-implementation of the game. And my question for it is, what's your favorite re-implementation of a game? So for this one, I think that this is a really strong implementation of a game, but not necessarily my favorite, but I think it is a very good one.
Mm.
Corinn, do you have a game that you really enjoy that's a real implementation of something else?
I was having a hard time with this one because I think a lot of the games that we have, the reasons that we do have them is because they're either they're good as is, or it's like the expansions or something that like
Okay.
really uh, make the game. So I don't have one, but as soon I saw the picture on your thumbnail, I was like, "Is this Twilight Imperium?" Was he like diving in? And then I was like, "Oh my gosh, no! This game, I've heard very good things about it, so that's really exciting, and it makes me really want to get it because it's one thing to buy the giant box of the 4th edition of Twilight
Hmm.
Imperium and give yourself like 12 hours to play the game, but instead you could play like 2 hours, and that's a little bit more digestible for a lot of people.
And one of the coolest things about this game in general is it is all simultaneous play. You are never not
Yeah.
playing. It also has a very strong solo mode. You're going to be able
Mhm.
to knock out a game in an hour and a half, which is awesome for an epic experience like this. It's definitely on the heavier side of the roll and rights, but the fact you're playing 4 different games at once is super cool. Have you played the original Twilight Imperium?
I have not.
Is it something you're looking to try?
I definitely think at least once in my life, you know? Whether or not we actually own it. I mean, my husband is always kind of like scanning to see. I don't know if there was like a sale last Christmas or something, but they're
Mhm.
selling the 4th edition for a really decent price. And he's like, "Do we do this? Do we start this life of Twilight Imperium?" So yeah, but definitely something we're super interested in that type of gameplay because I
Mhm.
know that it's very good.
Yes.
But it is also very long.
Yes.
So
So I had a bunch
Inscription
of
for sure I would wanna
friends.
try.
Oh, mhm.
Yeah.
So I have a bunch of friends in Hawaii that were obsessed with Twilight Imperium. So I
Um,
played a lot of games of that. And honestly, it's not something that I really want to go back to. I'm okay without it. I think that this gives me that same atmosphere, but
yeah,
definitely not the same gameplay. So I'm still looking for a approachable 4X game that I can really
yeah,
play with a lot of different people. I'd like to try 4th edition at least once because the
yeah,
games
exactly.
I played 5 or 6 games of the 3rd edition,
Okay.
but 4th edition is supposed to come with a lot of quality of life
Mhm.
upgrades. So yeah,
Yeah,
hopefully I get a chance in the future.
exactly. It's just like at least once, try
Mhm.
it out, say I've played it. So I think this is a great starting point for people to be like, "Oh, this flavor," and then really to enjoy it in Twilight Imperium.
I really
Very
like that
cool.
the factions are in here as well. Like there's
Yeah,
the who are they? The universities, the characters who are all focused on tech. They
yeah,
exist in this game, and the way
yeah.
they work is if you keep on rotating your boards, you can continuously upgrade your tech for free. So it gives you some encouragement to move around, but that's not
Mhm.
necessarily the most optimal place. If you feed
Right.
into that, when's the best time to stray from the path? I think it's just some really cool things here. Back to my question: what's my favorite reimplementation of a game? My favorite reimplementation is actually going to be Gaia Project. If you've heard
Ooh,
of this game, it's a reimplementation of Terra Mystica. Terra
okay.
Mystica is a awesome faction asymmetric faction game of territory expansion with lots of positive and negative player interaction, which I really love. There's reasons to build next to people, but there's also reasons to stay away from them. You are planning from turn one, so you have long-term strategy, but also the turn-to-turn tactical maneuvering based on opportunistic choices and chances. You have to make some tough decisions throughout, and I love the experience. And the big implementation here, the reimplementation though, adds a tech track, and that's the biggest change in the game. It's going to take a lot of the different facets of the original and turn them into this large board that you're going to be climbing up a variety of different, a lot of different times. So I'm a big fan of this one, and if you haven't played Terra Mystica, I think that you can probably start with this one. They also have a new reimplementation, Terra Nova. Heard mixed reviews on that though, so I'm not sure if that's one I'll check out because I do think this one is so good.
So would an example of like reimplementation be like the oh gosh, now I'm not going to remember what it's called. It's not, is it it was Stargate or what's the other?
Unfathomable.
Yes.
Yeah,
is it the
that would
Stargate
be a
games?
yeah, the
Unfathomable?
Battlestar Galactica. Yeah. So
Battlestar
that would
Galactica.
definitely
I
be a
knew it wasn't
reimplementation.
Stargate. It was the other one.
Yes.
So yes,
That would be a good example.
okay.
Are you a big fan of that one?
I do very much enjoy Unfathomable. I've never played the Battlestar game, so that's why I didn't want to mention it because I was like, I don't know if that really counts.
I think it
haven't.
counts.
Yeah,
I think it
I haven't
counts
played
still. Because it definitely comes from something else.
it.
You don't have anything to compare it to, but that's fine if the new
Mhm.
version is good. Do you like the theme? What things do you like about that one?
Oh yeah, the theme is super fun. Cthulhu is a very or just Lovecraft in general. His mind is. I mean, I know that he's also kind of not PC, but but his worlds and everything and his monsters are very iconic, and just the kind of the clue figuring out like who is the not the murderer, but like the actual alien or undersea creature and all that stuff,
Yeah.
but also dealing with Cthulhu and the mother thing. I can't think of her name either.
Dagon? Is it Dagon in this one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just that was very very fun to implement. So I think that's a really cool game, and I like that flavor a lot.
I would like to try this one before I buy. I have played BSG a couple of times. Not my favorite experience. I'm getting sucked in by Clock Tower, so that's kind of taken my spot as the heavier, longer social deduction game. So I would like to give this one a try, but I don't think it's going to be one that I pick up myself.
Sure.
So if you have an answer to this question on what's your favorite re-implementation of a game, please let us know in the comments. We'll make sure to feature it here. Or if you comment afterwards, we'll make sure to answer those comments later. But let's go ahead and move on to the next game. Corinn, what's the next game you've been playing?
So I was introduced to this game by my sister and her husband. It is called Hibachi. Hibachi. It is it's a pretty simple game. It's like a tactile. A
Is this
little
Hibachi or Hibichi?
Hibachi. Hibachi.
Hibachi. Okay.
Yeah. Like high and then Bachi.
Hibachi. Like the food?
Yeah. Yeah. So
Okay.
you're all playing different like Japanese animal chefs. And your whole thing is to get ingredients. So it's a very why words today, I tell you. That the like being able have some like dexterity basically.
Okay.
So you're taking little poker chips, that's it. And you have this board in front of you that has a little bit of a frame so that your poker chips can't really fly out. And you are sending your chips into this table in order to hopefully land on your ingredients. And you have chips with points like 100, or I guess money 100 to 600, and it will determine what you can sell or buy. Yeah, how much you're selling the ingredients for, and as well as what you're buying, what you are buying certain ingredients for. So I think it's whoever has the highest. No, it's the amount of chips. So if you have like 3 chips on there from 3 different people, you add the scores of the chips on there. So if you had a 100, 300, and 600, your eggs would cost 1,000 yen or
Those are some
whatever the
expensive
money
eggs.
is. Yes. So usually people be like, are you gonna buy eggs for 1,000? Be like, I don't know, unless you need them.
Oh.
So then you start with a certain amount of money. And then as you collect your ingredients later on, if different, you have a different score in eggs, it's like for 500, selling for 500, and you have eggs, people might buy eggs from you. So you get money to buy ingredients later on. There's also those little yellow circles in the middle, and each of those, one gives you a random recipe card. I think one gives you, what is it, like a random ingredient.
Hmm.
One gives you the ability to be the head chef, and the head chef chooses where to start first on the board of like, what are we starting with ingredients wise to sell and then to buy, and all of those things. um, and there's limited amount of ingredients, because sometimes you'll pull, I think it's 10 cards out of the deck, and it'll be like, we have eggs, fish, rice available, even if you need broccoli or shrimp or something else. So it just depends on the luck of the draw, as well as what other people have, if you're willing to buy from them.
Hmm.
So it's a little bit of strategy, as well as just the luck of how well you can toss your poker chips. Now, if you're not very good at throwing poker chips like I was, um, if they are not landing on either your ingredients or those circular
Hmm.
yellow circles, you get I think it's like chili paste or chilies, and those are basically wild cards.
Okay.
But there's only a certain amount of those. So if you have like, you can't basically, it's a mechanic, so you can't hoard them. So if
Okay.
you have the most chili and someone else misses,
Mm.
you have to give all of your chili back into the pile, and they get the chili that they need.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
This is
there's
really interesting to me. It reminds
yeah,
me a little bit of Sonora. Have you played that game, the
I
flick and
have
right
not.
game? It's very similar, where everybody is throwing their things into the middle to try to get
Okay.
into different areas. It's going to give them the actions that they want to take. But this
Right.
has a cool market manipulation to it, which is so fascinating. I love the
Yeah.
fact that it's got some supply and demand in the mix.
Hmm.
The theming is great. I love the
Yeah.
artwork. I like that it's the hibachi station. That's lovely, with the whole throwing of the food. So it makes sense thematically. I like the money aspect of this. What
Yes.
would you say the arc of the game is like? How does it start and how does it finish?
So it's definitely like a slow start. You're trying to get all of those ingredients,
Hmm.
but if you have like a secret recipe and you have those certain ingredients, like I think it was my husband who just like laid down 2 recipes, and the end game is whoever makes 3 recipes first
Oh,
wins.
okay.
So if you have the right amount of resources, because you don't ever have to run out of, I don't think, your ingredients, as long as they're not the chili.
Okay.
You can hold on to those. But it's also, I think, important, whoever the head chef is, because again, they're the first player basically. Um, you get to choose like, out of there'll be like 3 displayed uh, recipes, and you
Hmm.
can take that recipe first. So
Gotcha.
there's like strategy of being like, oh, I want to be head chef so that I get dibs on the um, recipe first, so I can claim it because I have the right ingredients. Or I want to get a secret recipe because none of these ingredients that I have are working with the displayed recipes, and I hope that I can get a recipe that has the things that I need. So yeah, so I'd say it's a slow start and can be a really quick finish depending on how the throws go.
Gotcha. Any other things to add about Hibachi?
I don't think so. I mean, I love poker chips, so like the tactileness, and
Hmm.
again, like the ability. So it's a nice. Again, it's another one that I don't think there's much waiting. There's a simultaneous play, because
Gotcha.
I mean, you have to take turns, but you can be a jerk and hit the person's chip out of the ingredients and all that stuff. But yeah, you're anticipating either throwing or then claiming your ingredients, or getting the chili and then returning your chili if you have too much and all that stuff. So yeah, it was definitely a fun, interesting game I'd never heard of before. So it's very fun to play with my siblings.
That's awesome. Okay. So that
Yeah,
is Hibachi. If you're looking for a really cool toss and market
yeah,
manipulation, contract fulfillment style game,
yeah.
Hibachi is what you're looking for. Oh, cool. Excellent. That's a new one for me that I have not heard about.
Yeah, exactly. Not your typical. Standard board game.
Awesome. I like stuff that's a little bit out there. So the fact
Mhm.
that it works well and it has those other overarching ideas,
Yeah.
one that I'll have to take a look into.
Yeah,
Very
for sure.
cool. So that is Hibachi. All right, this next game that I'm talking about is one of my favorite games ever. And my question that ties with it, I think, is a pretty funny one. It has to do with the sign to the right of me today. Uh, so this game, I'll just go out and say it, is Underwater Cities. Underwater Cities is a hand management worker placement game all about engine building. You are creating habitats for humanity below the ocean. You're going to do this through 3 different eras where you'll be playing lots of cards, building all sorts of buildings, and eventually leading to these large production phases where everything you build will trigger. You're going to get a bunch of resources and then use that to go into the next round. The core mechanism of the game is worker placement, where you're going to be playing one of your workers into a space, taking the action, but when you do, you're going to be pairing one of your cards to that action. The weak actions are the green actions, but the strong cards are green. So if you're taking a weak action, you're playing a great card, but the strong actions are orange. So if you're taking a strong action, your card's gonna be not so good. One of my favorite portions of this game, though, is the hand management. Every turn after you've played, you're going to draw a card into your hand. And then at the start of your turn, if you have more than 3, you have to discard down to 3. And then when you take a turn, when you take an action, you always have to play a card. I love this choice because you're always trying to plan your actions and chain them appropriately so that you're able to play a card in each action that you're going to. But I always get stuck in the details of this game because I'm always trying to be as efficient as possible. I'm always trying to make sure that I'm matching a card, and sometimes that takes me off the strategy that I really should be doing because I'm playing so tactically in the moment based on the stuff that I keep on drawing. And that brings us to the question here is, what's a game that you're pretty terrible at but love to play? And I think that Underwater Cities is actually that for me. I don't think I'm too bad at it when it comes to the multiplayer setting. I do pretty okay. And I don't think I'm a bad game player in general. I feel like I'm pretty good at games. But with this one, particularly in the solo challenge, the solo mode, the target to get is 125 when you're playing with the expansion, which I
Mm.
usually do. And I always make around 100. I can never break past that 105. I think I've done it a couple of times, but generally I'll sit around the 100. And it's because I think I keep on getting stuck in that moment of that hand management portion. Before we answer this question, Corinne, any questions about Underwater Cities? And this will give us time for any viewers to answer the question as well. Any questions about Underwater Cities? Have you seen this one? Have you tried it?
I've seen it. I have not tried it. Um, so you said that the green is the strong
Hmm.
act. No,
Yes, the
the
green is the weak action, but the
weak.
strong cards.
Right, and then the orange is the strong action but weak cards. What
Yes,
is the
exactly.
red?
The red is in the middle. It's a medium
Okay,
action with some okay cards. Not amazing, not terrible, but straight in the middle.
that's
Red
so
actions usually
interesting.
are the most contested, I would say, because they're just pretty powerful in general. It's right in the middle. You're getting good benefits on both sides.
Okay, that makes sense because it's such a in the color scheme, you would think that green makes sense, like weak in a certain sense, and then orange would be middle, and then red would be like top, that
Like a
kind of thing. So
stoplight.
I do like, yeah, I do like that they were like, no, let's not follow like the stereotype. I don't know, like the way to do it. So that's very interesting.
There's
No,
some
I mean it
really
looks really
smart
cool.
things that they do with the design
Mhm.
of this game. One thing is that the decks are tiered. So at the end of each production phase, you'll swap out the deck of 1 cards with H2 cards. Those H2 cards are just all generally stronger, and the same thing goes with H3. And this even feeds into that hand management that I love so much because during the end of the phase, you're going to draw 3 cards from the new deck. So you have to combine them with your old hand and then discard down to 3, which hurts even more because maybe you had cards that you were saving from the last stage, but these new cards are way
Yeah.
better. I think I just really like hand management. Some of my favorite games,
Mhm.
Fantasy Realms, Maracaibo, Marvel Champions, the hand management in those are incredible. And this is also up there with some of the best.
And when does your age change? Is it after 1 round or is it
At the end of every 3 rounds, that's when
okay,
the age changes.
very
So
cool.
you'll have 3 workers that you'll be playing onto the board, taking actions, playing cards. Then you'll collect those workers, do it again, and then at the end of those 3. So
Cool.
9 actions generally. If you're playing with the expansion, it's got like a prelude expansion where you play 1 less round the first round,
Oh,
but start with some resources and a
okay.
player power, which is amazing. I think all games should have something like that.
Very
Kickstarting
cool.
your engine off so you can have some plan of what to do. It's good
Yes.
stuff.
Yeah, that's very cool. Um, yeah. Do you want me to answer the question?
Let's do it. What's a
Okay.
game you are terrible at, Corinne, but love to play?
Again, I would say that I'm not I'm okay at it. I don't know if I would say I'm terrible. I think it depends on who I'm playing with, and then I'm like, "Oh, I'm bad at this game."
Mm.
But Root, Root
Ah.
is very, I think it's just I need to partially stick with a faction to just get, like, really good at it,
Uh,
but it's definitely for me too of getting stuck in, like, the nitty-gritty of, like,
mhm.
trying to get certain things done, and then maybe just not achieving the strategy to, like, catch up with everybody. I really had fun playing the Underground Duchy the last time we
Oh,
played Root,
nice.
so I feel like I want to, like, hone in on them and, like, get really good. Usually I play the Marquis de Cat,
Mhm.
or what else do I play? Well, it's either Marquis de Cats or the Eerie. Eerie is hard too.
I think that
Um,
those 2 factions you just mentioned, Maquis and Erie, they're some of the hardest to win with, because they can
yes,
easily somebody could just look at you and be like, "Ooh, Irie, I can make sure you don't do that action," and you just lose. And then the
yeah,
Maquis are putting out all those buildings, and that's like the main way to win Root is by attacking buildings. So if
yep,
you're putting out buildings, you're just giving points to other people, which is
yeah.
not ideal.
Which this just follows my MO of making things as difficult as possible for me. So it could definitely be that. So I really enjoyed the Duchy, and I've also played the Corbett Conspiracy. Those two I've really enjoyed as well from the
Mhm.
Underground expansion. So I think just like
Yes.
sticking hard with those two and like getting really good. Um, my husband played the Lord of the Hundreds.
Oh, I love
Oh
them.
my gosh.
They're so
Can I
awesome.
t yes, they are awesome to be. They are a pain in the butt to fight against, let me tell you. Oh my gosh, we were all just against him by the end of the game.
That
We're like,
makes
"Nope,
sense.
he's going down. We
Our
can't."
last game we played, I played
Oh,
as the Berserk Mice, the what are they called? The
yes,
Lord of the Hundreds.
Lord of
I
the
got to
Hundreds,
play as them,
Berserk
and
Mice.
then Ariana played as the who are they? The green characters, the rebels, the
Woodland
Woodland
Alliance.
Alliance, and
Yes.
then my friend Jenna was playing as the Makita cat. And so a
Yes.
lot of the game was me and the Maquis running into each other, and then the Woodland Alliance just popping up and burning everything with
Oh
the
my gosh, yes.
rebellions. Oh, it was a great game though. Everybody was so close. We were using the catch up mechanism, the
Mhm.
hirelings, the little characters. And so that was really
Yes.
fun to see
Yep,
those pass hands.
yep.
What a great game.
It
Good,
is a very
good
good game,
shout.
but it's a great game, but it's yeah, I need to get better at it.
I hope that you'll improve, and I'm sure you will. I think the Dutch are actually pretty awesome.
Yeah,
They
they're
have some
great.
good flexibility when it comes to the dominance cards. I love how flexible they are with popping out of the ground and immediately satisfying a condition with a huge horde of characters. So
Yes.
I think you're going to have some success with them.
Yeah.
Great. And then if you have any suggestions or any games that you are terrible at, but love to play, let us know in the comments. We'll make sure to feature them. Honestly, Underwater Cities is the only one that I can think of that I'm like legit bad at. I think I'm self-sabotaging as I play. But most of the games that I'm bad at, I think are games that people can target you at.
Yeah.
Rising Sun is one that I would probably put out there. Rurik is one that I would put out there. It's very easy to just look at somebody and say, oh, I'm going to make sure that you lose. And
Mhm.
if you're the person who knows the games, a lot of the times it falls on you to take the heat of that. That's why I like games like Blood Rage so much. Is if somebody targets you, you can do whatever. You are fine with it. You're like, whatever. I prepared for this. I have the cards. It doesn't matter. Do whatever you want. I'm fine. Hit me.
We
Let's
can do it.
go.
Yeah,
I love it. I love that
that's
feeling. So
awesome.
I think that's why I like Blood Rage a little bit more than Rising Sun or other games like that. But big fan, and that's a game I'm terrible at. Underwater Cities. What games do you stink at, but you still love to play? Corinn, what's the last game you've been enjoying? You've been playing?
Oh man. Again, from this board game weekend, it was so fun. It was just a reminder of how fun this game is. It is Dune Imperium.
Nice. Excellent.
Yeah. We played with the Rise of Ix expansion,
Mhm,
as well as our friends, because we both own Dune Imperium,
mhm,
but they have the, I guess, the upgraded, like the really nice version with like the
mhm.
miniatures instead of just the flat cardboard pieces for the factions and all of those things, or the houses. So yeah, we just had a blast playing Dune Imperium, worker placement, hand management. I feel like we've talked about Dune Imperium a bunch of times on this channel. It's so the flavor is great. I love all of the different mechanics of it about the worker placement, as well as your battles at the end of each round, which will give you more bonuses. So it's a lot of strategy. It's not like super heavy. There's a lot. There is a lot to it, but it's definitely you can pick it up rather fast. And then with the Rise of Ix expansion, that just adds a lot of fun material, and then again bonuses for the, I think it's like the tech, I can't think of,
Mhm.
yeah, it's like the
Technology. Mhm.
technology cards that you get, which will, like one of my favorites was you could every round you start with 2 money,
So good.
Solari, which is really awesome, as well as the not juggernauts,
The
dreadnoughts,
dreadnoughts.
juggernaut, Marvel. So yeah, all of the dreadnoughts are super awesome, along with the track that you go up with the dreadnoughts of collecting money and like soldiers, and then the tech cards, and then going all the way back down. Like it's super fun flavor, along with the additional new characters, which add a lot of, again, different variety of gameplay and what bonuses you get with your signet ring. I personally love Leto. Leto's one of my favorite characters to play. But there's a lot of really cool ones. I really like the one that is included with, I think, the expansion, which she has the little keys.
Mm.
That basically, once you are up on the second row of any of the house tracks, you unlock like a bonus in her
Mhm.
character,
The
which is very
Snoop
cool.
tokens.
The
The
soup
Snoopers.
tokens, yeah. They
Yeah.
look like keys to me, like fancy sci-fi keys, but yeah, it's a very cool game. It's a very well-made game. Out of all of, I would say, out of all the Dune games. Not that I've played the other Dune games that are out there, but it's definitely awesome, and very excited for apparently the next expansion that's coming. I do believe. So that's super exciting as well.
The new one looks really cool. I love the
Yeah,
concept of improving the cards you already have through the
yeah,
use of other means. So adding abilities. It's super interesting. You're leveling up throughout the experience of play. Sounds awesome. I
yeah.
really like this expansion, particularly the dreadnoughts, I think are very
Mhm.
fascinating. They allow you to invest in your military early and have some risk-free combat, which is really appreciated. You have recurring troops.
Yeah.
Actually, the last time I played this was fairly recently. My friend Ashley has gotten really into this game. So I played with her and her husband Fun, and we had a great time with trying out all of these new characters and just playing more Dune. I love this game. I rate this game also a 10 out of 10. You've been playing bangers all week, which is awesome. So happy to hear that you have been having some top tier gaming, which is great.
I'm super
But I
proud.
played as Duke Leto, and this was the first time I played him with the new stuff. And so I was
Yeah.
like, oh, Dreadnoughts suddenly seem really good for this character. So I just hung out in the green all game and just
Yay.
started putting out huge amounts of troops. Oh,
Yes.
what a great experience. I
Let
love that
us.
the
Mhm.
expansion just adds more cards, but
Mhm.
the cards aren't more complex, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
They're different, and I love that. It's more variety without the addition of complexity, and I think that's brilliant.
I've really enjoyed the cards that they have that allow you to have like agents on them or put
Mhm.
agents somewhere, which is very, very cool. Um, Love that, just even more flexibility of worker
Yes.
placement, which is very, very cool.
Have you played with the Epic version yet? With the Control the Spice card here. You swap out one of your original Dune cards, your yellow cards, with this card, and it makes for a more epic game
No.
experience. You also played a 15 points instead of 10. And as you can see on the card, it allows you to start culling stuff from your first
Mhm.
cycle, which is crazy strong.
No, I don't think we were. I don't know if they have it, and we just didn't get to it.
Hmm.
We're gonna do that
It's
next
in
time
the
for
Rise
sure.
of Ix expansion, so
Okay.
you can
So
play
we
the
have, yeah, we
ultimate
just didn't do
epic
it.
mode. I strongly recommend it. It's so cool,
Yeah.
but it is fierce. Your decks start getting really good really fast, and it's terrifying. It makes that first turn like passing early if you don't have a
Mhm.
control the spice card in hand, just to snag one good card, and then cutting your deck down so that your cycles are just super strong. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Last game I played of this using the ultimate version, I picked up a Shia Ludes, the actual sandworm, 7 cost crazy card, first cycle, control the spice, got into my hand in the second turn. It was nuts. Absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, we did play the Blitz version where it like
Mm.
gives you starting things,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
being able, kind of like what you were saying, I
Yeah.
think with was it Underground
Underwater cities.
Water Cities?
Mhm.
Yeah. So, which that was really cool to start out with too. And then we used the app to like be able to
Ah.
guess who we could like vote on who would
Mhm.
win, which gives you points if you get it correctly. None of us got it right. We were all like, "Oh, I thought you were," So that was very kind. Someone voted for me, which I was like, "Okay," but yeah, no, it was super fun.
That's so cool. I've used the app before and I
Mhm.
wasn't that big of a fan of it, but the
Sure.
prediction sounds really fun. It reminds me of
Yeah.
Wonderland's War a little bit, where
Yeah.
you get like a penalized for guessing incorrectly or anything like that, or
No, I think it was just only if you guessed correctly,
hmm,
would you get extra points.
okay, gotcha. Anything else to add about Dune Imperium?
Mm, it's a good game.
It's a
Play
I
it.
agree. I agree 100%.
Yeah,
It's a Dune Imperium. It's a good game.
that's its slogan.
That'll be your tagline on all the reviews for Dune.
That's right.
Corinn, it's a good game.
Okay.
Lovely. This brings us to our last game we're going to talk about today. This is a game that I absolutely love. I'm going to the UK here in a couple of months, actually, in 2 months. In 2 months, and I'm super excited. So I've been playing a lot of Scottish themed games because we're going to spend some time in Inverness and Isle of Skye. And this game is Glenmore II Chronicles. So Glenmore II Chronicles is a amazing experience. It has you playing as Scottish clansmen. You are going to be creating this huge area in front of you by
Mhm.
collecting tiles. And the way that you collect tiles is based on a path mechanism. You can go as far as you want on this path, but whoever's turn it is whoever's furthest back on the path. So you may sprint super forward to grab a tile that you really want, but that means that it's going to be a while before you get your next turn. However, there's a really
Mhm.
cool balancing to this because if you have the most tiles, or if you have the least amount of tiles at the very end, everyone else is going to lose some points for having more tiles than you. So 3 points per tile they
Mm.
have over you. So if you're able to be efficient and powerful, you get a bit of a bonus for doing so in such a short time frame. So something I really appreciate about this design. This is another 10 out of 10 game for me. I think it's incredible. This game is so much fun because the core is so strong. Picking those tiles is so gratifying. Creating your area is wonderful. And the fact that you have a variety of different scoring objectives all working together at the same time makes this for an experience that is it's brilliant. I think that Glenmore 2 Chronicles is one of the best Euro games out there. The fact that it's so easy to teach, but you can increase the complexity as much as you see fit, makes this an absolute winner in my mind. Now, the reason it's called Glenmore 2 Chronicles, though, is because it implements what's called the Chronicles system. And the Chronicles system is a group of these little boxes that whenever you can play with as many Chronicles as you want. They add additional rules to the game. For example, this Chronicle you see in front of you is the boat race. It adds boats to the game. And now whenever you move a character, you can instead move your boat. And it's an actual race across all of the players at the table. There'll be these lock tiles that you'll be going on, and you'll be moving your characters throughout, and whoever passes checkpoints is going to get bonuses and first dibs at those. And if you make it all the way around back to your board, you get an additional amount of points. And when you're picking tiles, if you get more lock tiles, you can put them on your board to increase the finish line, the distance between the finish line for the other players at the table. It's so interesting, the fact that you can manipulate this race while it's happening. I love this. One of the things that I played though this week though was one of the new Chronicles from the expansion that I had not played before, and this is the whoops. This
Oh
is not
no.
what I'm looking for. Maybe I can find it here. This is the Highland Games. Let me see if I can pull it up here. So I'll bring it back up. Thought I had it prepped, but not. But anyway, this is the Highland Games Chronicle called the Feast and Follies Chronicle. Now, the way it works is you are going to have these bidding tokens, and the way that you use them is you're bidding for your order of actions. And at the end of every round, you'll bid on some form of resource conversion. So this
Mhm.
adds a bit of an additional layer of resource management to the original game, where normally you were using resources to just buy additional tiles. But in this one here, you are going to be using them to pay for modifications to your scoring. So Feast and Follies gives you these new chips, and the chips determine which of the different scoring modifiers you want to go to. The
Mhm.
first one everybody can use, but after that, if your chip has already been claimed by somebody else, you do not get to use it. So you have to prioritize and predict what different players are going to be picking which different score modifier. So you can see the example here. Let me zoom in a little bit. Ooh, a little bit too much here. These cards will have a variety of resource costs on the left, and then
Mhm.
on the right, on the bottom, they'll tell you what score they modify. So in this one, you can pay the sheep and a brick and a resource of your choice in order to increase your barrel output by 4
Yeah.
that round. And if you have more barrels than other players, the person who has least, you score a certain amount of points. And so this is
Mm.
really awesome because you have a secondary way to spend your resources. It becomes valuable to hold on to things instead of spending everything you generate, but you also can beef up one of your scoring conditions that you may have chosen to neglect during the game. I love this because it gives you some flexibility and some movement you can plan for, and also can try to predict what other players are going to be doing. And if you're lucky, you can even do multiple of these shifts during the same round.
That's cool.
I think it's a very smart system, and it's one that originally when I saw it, it seemed just okay. But the more I thought about it and the more I played it, the more I realized that this is very smart. This is taking the scoring that is so core to the central of this game and turning it on its head by allowing that unpredictability. And that's one of my favorite things in game is planning for unpredictability and being able to play into that. And I think that this expansion does a great job with it. And the fact that these are just more chronicles for the game, the base game comes with 10 chronicles already. So the expansion adds an additional 4, one being a solo mode. I think it's an easy buy and it's a great one. I think this is one that you should definitely give a try. If you like Glenmore and you've played the base expansions, this one does have a lot of components to it, but they're very easy to integrate. And the fact that it happens during the scoring phase, it's one that you're going to be able to easily track and easily play. And Emily agrees with me, loves Glenmore II. I'm glad you like this one, Emily. This is one that I have so much fun with. My wife can't see why I rate it a 10 out of 10 because she does play with me. She appreciates it, but I don't think she loves it quite as much as me. But whenever I get a chance to play Glenmore, I will. I had a Saturday one day where I played through 10 modules in a row. It was so good. And I'm in the process of figuring out which modules I like to mix and match them most. But big fan. The solo mode is good. Everything about this game, lovely, lovely, lovely. Have you tried Glenmore, Corinn? What do you think of this game in general? Is this one you'd be willing to give a try?
Oh my gosh, yeah, this is like right up my alley. I mean, I'm just thinking of like how I just recently got Enish, so it's just like another game to add to like the European collection kind of thing. So this sounds awesome. Yeah. I can't believe like 10 module or 10 chronicles like in the first game. That sounds super fun.
And the fact that they're not overbearing, but they are very smart. They take an aspect of the core game and they change it up. There are some of the modules that will change the objectives that you're going for or the abilities of certain cards. There are some modules that add tiles that produce new things. There are some modules that are simply a token that maybe you'll place on the board. One of the most simple modules that I really appreciate is it's called the what's it called? King of the Hill, I Stand Alone, something like that. I don't know, but it's a piece that you put on the track, and whenever you pass by it, you can stop on it to collect resources on it. But that's your turn, or you can keep on going in order to take a tile. And so it's another choice that you have to make, and it's this space is going to be constantly recurring resources throughout the game from the other players. So maybe this is it's a cool form of positive player interaction where the players are going to be helping each other out, but it's based on if you're willing to give up the opportunity to get a tile you may or may not want. It's so smart. It's so good. It's so easy to play. You pick a tile, you place it down, you trigger stuff. You're constantly getting bonuses and constantly getting that feedback of just extreme increase. And the ramp up of the game is wonderful because you're going to be constantly building out tiles in front of you and triggering the abilities again and again. And it's got that escalation feature that Underwater Cities has where the original tiles are a little bit basic, but the later tiles in the game, because you get less time to activate them, they are much stronger. So it feels great to continuously get stuff. Oh, I could talk about this game all day, Corinn. I think it's so good, and I'm glad that it's up your alley. It's one that you need to give a try for sure.
For sure.
Strong recommendation. So that's one of my favorites. I love Glenmore II Chronicles.
Well, it sounds like you've been playing a lot of your like really top tier games too. So
it's been some good gaming this week. I'm excited. And while we're at it, let's talk about all of the games that we've been playing. So, Corinn, why don't you start us off? What are all the games that you've been playing? We're going to go through the entire list and then, go through the entire list and then give me your favorite one, your least favorite experience, and tell me why.
Okay. So, do I also say how many?
Sure. You can tell me how many.
Okay. So, 15 games, which is pretty good for me.
Oh, my goodness. That's like twice as many as last week.
Yeah. Wow, so, Splendor, Long Shot the Dice Game, Tapestry, Hibachi, Root, Too Many Bones, Spirit Island, Wingspan, Dominion, Dune Imperium, Betrayal House on the Hill, Pantone, One Night Ultimate Werewolf, Yahtzee, and Photosynthesis.
What a great week. So what was the best gaming experience you had?
I mean, I gotta say, Too Many Bones was super fun, even though like the first the first one was really hard just because it was late
Mhm.
and we were learning. I think it was a super fun thing, as well as this group that we played with. We played Gloomhaven, so it was very like nostalgic of an RP, like playing RPGs and just working together to like to defeat the enemy. So I think overall that was one of my favorite game experiences of the week because I love collaborative, and again the RPG and like leveling up your characters and everything is super fun and flavorful.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And then what would you put at the bottom of your experiences?
Hmm. 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 Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. The bottom.
And if you don't have a bottom, that's okay. If
Yeah,
they're
I
all
mean,
great, don't worry about it.
nothing. Nothing was too bad.
Mhm.
Uh, Maybe Yahtzee, just because my husband got a Yahtzee and no one else did.
Ah!
So that's really annoying. But other than that, no, I love that game. I was very appreciative of him to play with me because I know it's not his favorite. So, yeah, overall, not too bad of experiences.
Okay. So that is Too Many Bones at the top. An excellent week of gaming for Corinn. I'll go ahead and run through my list now. I have 36 unique titles from these last 2 weeks.
Surprising.
And here we go. Oath, Chronicles of Empire and Exile, Pictures, Glenmore II Chronicles, Marrakech, Trudvang Legends, Super Fantasy Brawl, Resist, Nemesis Lockdown, Dune Imperium, Townsfolk Tussle, Mythic Mischief, The Lost Ruins of Arnak, Marvel Champions, Dice Realms, Etherfields, Merchant's Cove, Twilight Inscription, Cloudspire, Marvel Remix, War Chest, Blood on the Clock Tower, Blackout Hong Kong, Too Many Bones, Underwater Cities, Hadrian's Wall, Werewords, Spell Smashers, Heaven and Ale, Clank, Quacks of Quedlinburg, Monikers, Vampires, Wits and Wagers, Ink and Gold, So Clover, and Las Vegas. So out of all of these games, I'm going to start with my bottom three. The bottom three in this order were Townsfolk Tussle was probably the not the lowest, not the lowest, the almost the bottom. Number three, it's the third worst. The third worst game. The third worst game is Townsfolk Tussle, and the experience was a lot of fun. But playing Townsfolk Tussle again made me reminded me that it's pretty much just theme over gameplay, which is
Oh,
really sad because I wish that the gameplay was stronger. The theme though is very strong, so it was still a fun experience. I had a very good week of games. The second worst game that I played that week was, I'm gonna say it was Merchant's Cove. Merchant's Cove was fine. It was an okay game, but not something that I don't think I'll ever return to. Maybe I'll play it again if there's a new faction or something that I want to try, but I don't really have a favorite faction that I played. It was hard to I can't recommend it honestly. So
mm,
Merchant's Cove is one that I'm not going to recommend. But the bottom one is unfortunately Trudvang Legends, and that was really sad. The game just does not hold up. The combat is fine. The game
mm,
is fine. The story is fine, but it's very cyclical. There's really nothing pushing you through the game. It's a
mm,
lot of meandering. You have to do some grinding in a solo shot experience, but the entire thing's a big campaign. It has some cool
mm.
ideas. I'm not sure if this is one that we're going to hold on to. Unfortunately, we did back the all in, so we have the rest of it coming
Oh,
down the line. So maybe I'll give it a try again when the new stuff arrives. Maybe that'll revamp it. Maybe there'll be some variant rules or something like that. It's got a big community because that Kickstarter was so big. So
mm.
hopefully that's good stuff. But unfortunately, that's definitely the bottom. So sad. Yeah. And Emily says, dang, 30 something in 2 weeks. I game hard, Emily. I game hard.
He
I got to
does.
remember all this stuff. And then Emily says, agree on Townsfolk Tussle. Yeah, it's really unfortunate. Maybe they'll change some stuff in the second printing. We'll see. And then my top three for sure. The best game that I played last week. So third best game is going to be Super Fantasy Brawl. I got to play a lot of that with my brother. Did some online play of that. I just set up a video camera and we play on the same board. So that was really fun. He was getting familiar with all of the different roles for Super Fantasy Brawl. So that was really fun. Yeah, I really like Super Fantasy Brawl. It's a team game where you're bringing in all these different characters from anachronistic settings. So they're all from different time periods. So you're bringing them together and having a brawl. I love this game. So good. Objective based combat. And then you have my second favorite game is War Chest. War Chest is wonderful. You have not asymmetric. Yes, asymmetric. You have 4 different units that have different abilities than the opponent, but it is an abstract game where you're placing these units on the table and you're moving them around to different control points. And it just reminded me how good the game is. It is non-perfect information, which I love, but it still has the feeling and the presence of a classic abstract game of something like chess, but it has those asymmetric powers and it feels so good to play. You're slapping pieces on the board, you're moving them around. It's what you think when you are thinking of an abstract game like this, where you have the pieces, you're moving them around, but there are points where you can make risky plays, you can try to predict what's going to happen. You see the attrition, you've got some customizing bag building. I think that War Chest is one of the best games ever. It actually bumped my rating up from, actually, I think it is. I think I did bump it up to a 10 from a 9.
Nice.
Oh God, that game is so good. But number one has got to be Blood on the Clock Tower. Blood on the Clock Tower remains one of my favorite games. I'm just going to tell you now, it's going to be, if you made it this far in the video, if you're joining us on the stream, this is going to be my game of the year. Unless something incredible comes out in these next 3 months, which I hope does. If I get more 10s this year, please. But, oh, wow, Blood on the Clock Tower is incredible. So I got to actually not only host a bunch of games of Clock Tower, but I also got to play Clock Tower. So I was, my friend Jenna wanted to be the storyteller, and she did a great job with it. She did an amazing job. I walked her through it. She had played many times, and now she's comfortable. She's going to do one of our hosting at our Halloween event, which is really exciting. So very excited that she gets to do it with a big group. But we played with 10 people, and I got to be a character. So I got to be a townsfolk, and I was able to figure out exactly what had happened based on what was happening, the information I was getting. I was the chambermaid, and my numbers just weren't making sense. And we were playing Trouble Brewing, so there were 4 possible demons it could be. So I was able to narrow it down to a person, and I felt so bad because the person that I was choosing to be the demon, I was like, "Oh, it's you," and I was so on them. They pulled off this a social read. My social read on them was really bad because they started getting red and they're very defensive. And I was like, oh my gosh, I feel so bad. Am I picking on this person? And as soon as we executed them and found out that the good team had won, they immediately dropped the facade and they're like, ah, you got me. And I was like, oh my gosh, you're killing me. So they almost had me, but I had to go with my information. So novel concept, I know. Trust my information.
Who would do that?
Exactly. You never can know in that game. So it was great. Amazing game. You got to play this if you haven't. It's wonderful, but I know it's a hard one to orchestrate getting people together for.
Yeah. You need a big group to do it and enjoy it.
Yes. At least 7. So there's some really good smaller settings. It's called Teensyville, which I think is adorable. There are scenarios that are specifically built for small player counts, which I really appreciate. So good stuff here. Big fan of all those games. Good stuff. Really only 2 games that I didn't have a good time with, and that was Trudvang and Merchant's Cove. But overall, great week of games. Any other final thoughts, Corinn, before we close out today?
No, I just hope we have as good of a week as another good gaming week as we did last week.
Oh, yes. Me too. Oh, what a great week. Ooh, anything you're excited to play in these next couple of days?
Ooh. I do feel like we were going to play something, but I've completely forgotten what it was. So looking forward to something. So that's good.
Nice. I'm going to be playing some more Etherfields, I imagine. I just finished one of the campaigns. So I finished the Harpy campaign just now, but I'm going to be started the She-Wolf campaign yesterday. So I am in the middle of that, and there are some really cool new ideas in the She-Wolf campaign. So no spoilers here, but it's really cool so far. It adds some very neat concepts, and I think that if you like Etherfields, it'll be something that you enjoy.
Yeah, this is the dream one.
Yes, this is the dream walking game. It is still on my kitchen table upstairs, and I am loving it. It looks like Emily has gotten to play Flamecraft a couple of times. Excellent. You got to tell us how that game is. I actually was on the Lucky Duck game page, ready to hit the pre-order button, but I was reading some more reviews, and my initial thing, I did not back this one on Kickstarter. I talked about that in the Kickstarter thing a while ago, but a lot of the reviews I was looking at, I like looking at 10s, I like looking at 6s, and I like looking at 4s. So those are my favorite scales to look at. A lot of people just click 7s and 8s. It's like very, very easy to hit, but most people that comment will comment on 10s, 9s, 6s, and 4s. And so I like looking at those, and it kind of corroborated what I was thinking, that it's a lot of presentation. It's very family weight. Might be a little bit overly long, though, for what it is, but it does look very pretty. Yeah, I'm curious. Have you seen Flamecraft at all? It looks really cool. I'll pull up a picture of it for you. The art is magnificent and the
Wow.
presentation is lovely. It's essentially a village of dragons and very.
Oh, I
It
have
is.
seen this.
Yep.
Just
It's
not the name. Just I'm so much better with like pictures and like the art than names of the games.
here you are. The art is
Yes.
present. It is
Oh, it's
adorable.
so
So it uses this mechanism where you're able to go to different stores and you can
mhm.
level those stores up by adding dragons to them. And it's a contract fulfillment game where you're going to be getting cards that are worth a
Yeah.
certain amount of points. And that was the one thing that was making me a little wary. Sometimes games
Mm,
where it's very contract based, it can be a little frustrating when people are just getting clearly better contracts than you,
sure.
particularly because of the ramp up of the game. You're going to be
Mhm.
generating way more resources at the end than at the
Yeah.
beginning. So it could feel a little frustrating. I could see that. Emily, though, says that loves the simplicity in combos. Some of the gold cards can be tough or easy. Okay, cool. So Emily seems to really enjoy it. And if I get a chance to play this one, I will. I don't think this is
Yeah.
one that I'm going to go hunt down, but if I play it and it really does knock my socks off, going to get the deluxe edition. It looks amazing. Oof, oof. Any games that are on your radar right now, Corinne, that you're
I mean
looking at?
some obviously the Dune Imperium expansion.
Oh, yes.
There is a game that my husband is very interested to play, the War of Whispers board game.
Hmm.
So
Okay.
that sounded really cool because it I think it's like control of the board kind of,
Mhm.
or it's because you're I think you are the like higher ups. I think like kind of spreading
Yeah.
the yeah manipulated empires from the shadows. So you're like behind all the empires, and kind of making either war happen or whatever, making the cogs turn. So that sounds really interesting. As well as I think this is also supposed to come out this year. I might be wrong. The trekking through time.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I think that's supposed to come out. So I'm very excited to get my hands on that one. Frosthaven, whenever that gets here.
Of course, of course. Can't go
Yeah,
can't go stream without mentioning Frosthaven.
I can't. I'm so excited for it. Yeah, I'm trying. I feel like those were the main ones that I could think of right off the top of my head that I've been definitely excited for and or looking for.
Mhm.
Um,
All right.
I mean, the you had mentioned Cloud something, but I know that there's another game out there called Cloud Age.
Cloud Spire?
Yeah, you had said Cloud Spire. I think
Mhm.
there's another one called
Cloud
Cloud
Age.
Age.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I've been
That's a good
interested
one.
in looking into that one too, and
It's
then just
a
playing
very
it right
light
after them.
engine building game.
Okay,
Mhm.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Those just look fun to definitely try out, so
It is good. I like the theme. It's got a cool story mode that you can play that
mm,
adds components as you play.
yeah, yeah.
It's good
So those are
stuff.
the ones I can think of currently.
All right. So we'll go ahead and wrap up the stream here. If you haven't already, please make sure that you are subscribed over to SuperBlondeNerd over at her channel. She recently passed 500 subscribers, which is awesome. Put out some great videos on these cute little ghosts getting ready for spooky season. I love that video. The artwork is wonderful. So
Thank
great shout there.
you.
Big fan, Corinne. Any projects that are coming out on your end?
Yes, the creation of my Halloween costume
Ooh, what are you
will
going to be
be
this year? Or is that spoilers for the video?
I think I'm gonna wait and not tell people because I think it's gonna be very fun and very silly, but also I'm very excited. This is my first like big, I would say like cosplay level
Oh,
costume.
wow.
So I'm very excited. I can't wait to see people's reactions. That's all I'll say. So I'm very
Oh,
excited for that.
sweet.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
So if anything, subscribe for that. Very exciting. Thank you, Corinne. And
yeah.
one last thing, Emily says that she is super excited to play Pedal to the Metal Heat. And that's a new Days of Wonder game, I
Ooh.
believe. Vincent Dutrade art, racing game. Looks lovely, honestly. And it looks to be in that same playtime, same space as something like Downforce. So let's see if it's a contender. There's a lot of really cool racing games coming out. Oh, so cool. So that is Heat, Pedal to the Metal.
Sweet.
Excellent. Looks like Emily's also very excited to see your costume reveal. So
Thanks.
go check out Super Blonder's channel for that. And that's everything. Those are the games that we've been playing. Thank you so much for being here with the stream. Emily, thank you so much for the comments and for chatting with us here. And if you have any answers to those questions, please let us know down in the comments below. We'll make sure to be browsing the comment section and answering those. But thank you so much for watching. Corinne, anything else to add?
SideGame Strong.
SideGame Strong. We'll see you later.